You're listening to Sussex Roundtable, a weekly conversational podcast that provides an inclusive space for debate and discussion around university-related topics, hosted by your student digital media gurus at the University of Sussex.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Sussex Roundtable podcast. And in this week's episode, we shall be discussing the Spirit of Sussex Award and extracurricular activities. My name's Sam Rahman. I'm a digital media guru and I'm a second year PPE student. I'm joined by some student connectors. Guys, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Hafsah and I'm a third year geography student.
Hi, I'm Toby. I'm a final year Law with American Studies student.
Hi, I'm Joshua and I'm a second year economics student.
Hi, I'm Ellie. I'm a fourth and final year politics and American studies undergraduate.
So, as mentioned earlier, we'll be discussing the Spirit of Sussex Award. So, for all those who don't know, what is the Spirit of Sussex Award?
So the Spirit of Sussex Award is new and it's designed to celebrate students' extracurricular, co-curricular or voluntary activities alongside their studies. It can be retrospective. It's open to any undergraduates or postgraduates who are graduating with Sussex or BSMS, which for those of you who don't know stands for Brighton and Sussex Medical School. And it covers a range of categories in different things that you might do while you're studying at university.
And where can we find these, this award online? Because I'm sure there's some websites we can go on to find out more information.
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you go onto Student Hub and you click on your uni experience, which is on the first page, it will take you to a page that has the Spirit of Sussex Award on the content near the bottom. And if you click on that, it takes you to the website where you can upload all of your evidence and get your points to achieve the award.
So I was looking up the award the other day and I saw there was some kind of point system. So how does it work? How does this point system function?
Well, the point system works by, so you can get different points for different types of activities you do. So the first one is you can get 5 points for attending and participating in an activity. So if you were to go to an event online or if you were just to take part in like some sort of activity or a society, then you can get 5 points. You get 10 points for organizing and supporting. So things like coaching, you can get 10 points for, and you can get 15 points for leading and representing in a club or a society. So if you were to represent, let's say, a student body, then you can get 15 points. Or if you were to create your own society and lead it, you can get 15 points. So these points can accumulate to get you a certain award. So for 25 points, you can get a bronze award. For 50 points, you can get a silver award. And for 75 points, you can get a gold award.
And I was looking at it the other day and I was just wondering, what would you say was the purpose of this award? What is it about?
Yeah, so I would say it's really about encouraging students to engage with Sussex life and sort of get involved in other things alongside your studies. I know like it can be quite boring, when you're just doing your course and there's no other extracurricular stuff going on. And I think, it can be really fun to get involved. In my first year, I don't think I got involved too much. And yeah, it was quite boring. So at the beginning of year 2, I started to get involved in other things like joining societies and, seeing what's going on around uni. It makes you feel more connected to the Sussex community. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's trying to kind of encourage students to be kind of more well-rounded than they would ordinarily be. I mean, of course, students will usually participate in lots of extracurricular activities, but it's kind of an extra level to encourage students to meet with the students and just do more and make themselves more presentable and more qualified when they apply for jobs.
Yeah, and I think it definitely prepares you for life after university. Being able to do extracurricular activities, go beyond your course, it shows that you're kind of different. It differentiates you from other students. So you are more noticeable to employers in future life, and you get into the mentality of not doing the bare minimum. you know that it's like you're pushing yourself to do more, which is definitely a quality that you should have after university when you're out in the workforce.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with everything that's been said. And I also think ultimately what the award does is it represents the work that you've put in while you're at university to broaden your horizons and not do the bare minimum. And the fact that you can put the award on your CV, on your LinkedIn, you can mention it in interviews, you can discuss it with employers. It really goes beyond you just engaging in extracurricular activities and proves that you've given a significant contribution to your university community while you were studying.
So when I first came to university, and this is kind of mirroring what you were saying, I noticed, to me, the courses were good, but they weren't sociable. They weren't kind of sociable places, at least with my course. And I didn't get to go to halls either. Long story. But I got a lot of my social life from being part of societies and being part of sports clubs. So I think this is a great award to try and get people to see that part of university. So that was my take on the purpose of the award, as well as other things. But this kind of leads on. This is a similar question to that: is what are the incentives for students to participate in this award?
Yeah, so one really good incentive is you get a certificate at graduation. So there's that recognition, like on your degree transcript. And like Josh was saying earlier, it makes you stand out because it's the first year of the award and not many people will have it. So I think it's definitely something quite unique.
Yeah, first and foremost, there's an incentive in actually participating in extracurricular activities as it is, because it makes people feel better. We're meeting more people, we're forming more friendships and socializing, and it's nice to just kind of meet with people outside of normal course time and on different courses. But it's nice, I suppose the reward in many respects simply recognizes what people are already doing. So in that regard, it doesn't matter if the incentive is for someone is to actually get the award itself. They can simply be rewarded for doing what they would ordinarily do. It's kind of a win-win in that regard.
Yeah, and just like I was saying, for the purpose of the award, the idea of getting out of your comfort zone is just something that can be seen as a good quality, a good skill that you're developing. And these skills are always something that employers are looking for. And just future career moves is definitely something that would be good to be seen on your CV. So the incentives and the purpose are the same.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think also it's important to mention that there's a lot of range in the categories that you can get points for, which is a good incentive to participate in the award for most, if not all, students, because it caters to different interests and different abilities. So you don't have to have just competed in sports societies or been a member of an SU committee. You can do so many different things and get points for the award. So that's definitely an incentive because it encourages variety. And I also think the fact that, like Hafsah said, that you get that recognition at the end of the degree on your transcript is really powerful, and it just goes to show that you don't just have good grades. Good grades are really important, of course. You want to work hard at university and have a degree that shows represents your hard work, but it's not enough in this current climate. Employment is difficult these days, and you need extra stuff, and an award like this, which you can get retrospectively and with relative ease, is really helpful in adding to what you already have.
When I was looking at the list of activities you can do for the award, I saw some litter picking activities, and to me that in itself is a pretty good incentive to actually kind of clear up the earth whilst getting acknowledged for that. There isn't a lot of that going about, so that seemed like a pretty damn good incentive and purpose for the award itself. So bearing that in mind, are there any specific activities you personally were thinking about doing in relation to the award? Or have you been already doing these extracurricular activities which contributed to this award?
Yeah, so as I'm a third year, I've been looking back retrospectively on what I've been doing since I started uni. And So I was looking back and logging my points, and you realize that you've actually done so much. I've added things like helping to organize a charity bake sale as part of a society, and that got me 10 points. And I've also volunteered on Sundays giving out food to the homeless near Brighton Beach. That was on a regular basis. So yeah, that was also contributes to the points. And there's so many other things when you really look back. I had to look back at my camera roll a bit as well. So you're like, what have I been doing? But yeah, no, there's so much, and you really realize that when you're logging your points. So it's really encouraging.
Similarly to Hafsah, I've been looking back retrospectively because this is my 4th year, so it's not necessarily a case of what I'm still going to do, but what I've already done that I'll be logging before the award was kind of even known about. And you can log points even on years abroad. So I think Ellie must have had a year abroad as well as I did in the United States, and you can log any points that you do activities there. So I've done a lot of kind of mostly playing football really for me, but I've done various other stuff, such as I was vice president of the Documentary Society. It was just an excuse to go to the pub though, so we didn't really do a lot other than that, but not to play it down, we did watch a documentary every week, which was sometimes good and fun. I definitely shouldn't have said that, but no. But yeah, so I've done a few bits and bobs, and like something like I'm a Spirit of Sussex Award connector, and I can log points for doing that as well.
Well, unlike Hafsah and Toby, I've still got a bit more time, so I can still. I'm thinking about creating my own society for a place for people to draw and sketch together. I'm in the works of asking people to join, and so that, because that's kind of a leading and representing activity, I can get 15 points for that. But thinking back on first year, second, and some of this second year, I'd say that I've got a few points from just being in society. So the ACS Society, I went to a few events back then, and I've gone to a few basketball events, so I can get points for that. But overall, I think that I'm making good progress towards the award.
Yeah, so I'm similar to Hafsah and Toby in the sense that I'm doing this retrospectively as well. My line manager in my connector job actually told me about the award. I'd seen it on Facebook, but she was the one that recommended I apply because she thought from conversations that we'd had that I'd probably have enough stuff to at least get the bronze or the silver. And it actually ended up being easier than I thought, because I was able to get the gold from a few different things that I've done over the last few years. So for example, I run the Badger newspaper with a couple of other students. That was worth some points. We do a lot of events at a campaign group that I lead with some other students called Under the Sheets. I worked as a part-time nanny for 4 kids for my first 2 years at uni, and sometime in my 4th year when I came back from my year abroad, and that part-time job was also really helpful in getting me points. So a lot of the things that I did for the award I didn't do for the award, but in retrospective, when you're looking at it retrospectively, they did help me get the award. So yeah, I didn't do things for it, but it has given me that recognition of things that I've already done, like Toby said, which was really cool.
Just looking at what you were saying, Joshua, I knew the guy who started album listing society. I don't know if you guys know that, and it took off quite quickly. So if anybody does want to start a society at Sussex, they take off quite quickly. So there's another incentive to do that. You won't just be alone usually. Now, obviously, we are in lockdown. So we are talking about all these activities we've been doing over the years, and it's a bit hard to do that now. I was part of the hockey society and frisbee society, and I can't do that now, which is a shame. So what other ways can students get involved in these activities and do these activities whilst in lockdown?
Yeah, so one of the things that I've been doing is I've had my part-time job, which is the student connector role, since basically the second half of second year. And it's basically working in the Connector program. So this program is all about how students and staff make positive change together. And we basically co-create and work with staff across different departments, depending on your team, and really bring about some positive change in the uni. For example, I work as a student experience connector, and my main role is to manage the online presence of the Connector program. For example, I'm managing one of the accounts, Instagram accounts at student connectors _, and it's just been really, really good this time being able to do this during lockdown. We have our meetings online and we work in teams, and there's still that level of community and connection between connectors, even though it is in a lockdown. So I think there's still, there's loads you can do, especially as a connector.
Lots of societies have been running online events, and which I'm sure kind of a lot of people would have seen. Whether or not people are wanting to attend because of fatigue and stuff, I'm not 100% sure. But we've also, Spirit of Sussex Award team, we've also been hosting virtual events, and this last week we've had our relaunch, and we had so we've done kind of we're starting Meet the Alumni events fortnightly, and our first one went really well on Tuesday. We do a weekly hot topics, which is kind of like a debate forum kind of thing of sorts. We debate various topics, and that's something people can attend. And there's stuff out there to do, even though it's not necessarily the way we would want to do it.
So those all sound really cool. Some societies are doing a lot online. I don't know if anyone listening has heard of Discord, but it's a really good server that a lot of societies have transferred onto more in recent months to hold events. And then, of course, there are the classic Zoom events where you have guest speakers or, you watch something together. Those are really cool. If you also think about how so many different industries and organizations and groups and even social groups have moved online in the last year, because you can do so much variety for the award. Given that everything's online now, you can still do them. You just have to take a look at how they've been changed. So for example, one of the categories, you can get points for going to protests or engaging in activism. There's been a lot of that that's been observable over the last year in Brighton and in other places. I know not all students are in Brighton at the moment. So if you were to go to something like that, whether it be online or in person, that would count. So yeah, there are lots of things that you can do online to still get points at the moment. And if you go onto Career Lab, which is a new program that the university, the careers department have been working on, you can actually find hundreds, almost 1,000, I think, different opportunities and events coming up soon, which are online, covering different areas, some in business and entrepreneurship, some in leadership, some in digital skills. Those would all count, and they're really good for employability. So there are lots of options.
Just wanted to have a look at what you just said there, Ellie. We just need to make sure that if you do join a protest group, join one that's legal. There are a couple of illegal ones that we would like to stay away from. But make sure if you do join a protest group, it's a legal one. So moving on, what activities did you guys enjoy retrospectively?
Yeah, so one thing looking back, when I was in first year, I actually worked at a local dessert parlor in town, and that was a really interesting experience. So yeah, that was very fun, but it's very different to my connector work now. And obviously my connector work can be done during a lockdown, so that's good as well. And also one thing I did recently was online tutoring with the charity Action Tutoring. So I taught English secondary students on an online platform, which was a really great experience and something I've never done before. So yeah, again, something you can do in a lockdown.
For me, I think it's probably just playing sport, really. I miss playing sport and anything, to be honest.
For me, I think it's this job as a Spirit of Sussex Award connector that I've enjoyed. It's been my first job that I've had And it definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone, got me to work on leadership, delegation, teamwork and skills, all things that, you're told to learn in like school, but it's not necessarily applicable until you've done it for real and you're actually seeing the benefits of having those skills. So I've definitely enjoyed this role as a Spirit of Sussex Award connector.
So I believe I've mentioned a few things already. I really enjoyed my nannying job while I was at uni. That was really rewarding and really actually surprisingly formative in terms of helping you with organization and time management and multitasking and all of the things that you need to be a functioning adult. But there are a couple of other things that I haven't mentioned that have been really good. So in my role as print production editor for the Badger, I'm part of media committee, which is one of the committees as part of the student union. And so there are different representatives from different media orgs on campus. So there are people from URF radio, there are people from the Badger and so on. And we attend the media committee and we talk about funds that we need for what we're producing, and we discuss issues with the university, and it goes through the student union body, and it's a really good place for open discussion and problem solving. And that has been really helpful, teaches you really good skills, communication, negotiation, discussion, all of those, managing a paper, all of those things. And that has been enjoyable, but it's also been really good in terms of giving me a lot of transferable skills and counting towards the award.
I'm part of a society. I'm part of quite a few societies actually. The one I enjoyed the most is Liberate the Debate, and I like it mainly because we actually do a lot more than debating. We're more of a kind of friendship group now. And I've kind of been able to keep a friendship group throughout lockdown on Discord because of it. So it just goes to show that if you do join these societies, it can help you get through lockdown. So finally, is there anything else you guys would like to mention?
Yeah, so the Spirit of Sussex Award has an Instagram page at Sussex. So check out their page to keep updated with everything that's going on with the award. And also, if you want to know more about the Connector program and find out about new jobs, which there are at the moment, check out their Instagram page at studentconnectors_ to find out a bit more about what the Student Connectors do.
This is not to do with the award necessarily, but I don't know about the rest of you, but I've never been on a podcast before. So I'm just going to shout out my mum for raising me. Thank you.
I don't think my mother will be listening to this, but I will mention that the Student Connector program is expanding, and it was new as of last year, but they are looking for new people and there are job opportunities. You can earn money alongside your studies. The work is very manageable. The line managers are wonderful people in my experience. So I would recommend checking that out if you feel like you need some more material to get the award. But even so, I would recommend that every student checks out this award, because it's actually not as difficult as you might think to get it. You may not even have to do anything beyond just put in what you've already done. You only need 25 points for a bronze, and that, you get 5 points for joining a society. So it's very doable. I would recommend that everybody checks it out. And also have a look at Sussex Uni Careers on Instagram and Twitter. On Twitter, it's Sussex Uni Careers without the E in Sussex, and on Instagram, it's just Sussex Uni Careers. They post a lot of stuff, online events that you could do to get points for the award. They post stuff about the Connect program, societies. So yeah, check it all out. It's really useful stuff.
All right. Thank you guys for listening to this week's podcast, and thank you to all the student connectors in this episode. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. Bye, everyone.